Ken Patton, who is our member Clarice Patton's father, wrote these words, and let us read them responsively at number 437. Let us worship. Let us worship. Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body.
We feed our eyes upon the mystery and revelation in the faces of our brothers and sisters.
We seek to know the wistfulness of the very young and the very old, the wistfulness of people in all times of life. We seek to understand the shyness behind arrogance, the fear behind pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, the anguish behind cruelty. All life flows into a great common life if we will only open our eyes to our companions.
Let us worship not in bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped ears.
Let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our beings, with the full outstretching of our spirits. Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body to those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship and let us learn to love. And I have been looking for hymns and readings that reference the body, and we are going to sing Gathered Here in One Strong Body at number 389. And this is one of those things that if you were real smart, you could divide it into 4 parts and do it as a round, and that just is way too complicated for me. But you can feel free to break into that in any way you wish. Let's sing Gathered Here, 389. And we join in the words of our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. Good morning. Buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. If you have been here absolutely forever, welcome. if you are here for the very first time, welcome here. If you are Tom Einstein, who comes in traditionally 2 or 3 minutes late, right up the center aisle, welcome. Welcome if... Oh, it's his second coming, the second coming of Tom Einstein, I see, okay. Welcome if you are here from Charlton, Massachusetts. Welcome if you are here from Prague, having attended your daughter's wedding yesterday. Welcome if you're here from Alexandria, Virginia. And wherever else you may be from, welcome. It's good to be here together. And it is especially good because we are welcoming Jennifer Johnson. Jen Johnson, our incoming student, and she'll have something to say in a moment. Jen is a student at Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago. They do mostly online learning. And she also is doing her clinical pastoral education in Worcester at St. Vincent's Hospital there. And she will be beginning with us in the fall, and we expect that Jen will be with us for a good 2 years. And so it's very exciting to have you with us. Come and say hello.
Hello. Hi. I'm just a little bit excited to be here and to see your faces today. I've been on a somewhat slower journey towards ministry, and mostly I've been in the classroom. So I am just delighted and excited and full of hope and joy, and also a little bit scared to be starting this training with John and your wonderful staff and all of you. I wanted to just share one little kind of anecdote. Last weekend, I think of it as riding the circuit a little bit, doing some pulpit supply preaching around the area. My 15-year-old daughter's been accompanying me, and I was in Gloucester last week, and I walked through the church vestry, and one of the first things I saw on her office door was your bumper sticker that said, "Well-behaved churches seldom make history, uubedford.org." And I took that as a personal message to me, a bit of a provocation. I think a couple of the areas, there's many, but in particular that I'm interested in learning about is how to courageously misbehave in the service of our values, in the service of justice and a world more loving and caring. And I'm interested in the spirit of creative play that feels really palpable in this congregation, and learning and growing in that way with all of you. So thank you so very much for the privilege of inviting me to learn from you. I just can't wait.
Great. Ain't misbehaving. We can work that in at some point in coming days, right? Various announcements. There are raffle baskets available in the common room during our community hour, and that's a fundraiser for our music program and especially for the youth musical Alice in Wonderland, so check them out. Lisa Perry Wood is away, our acting parish minister, and this is an occasion for me to try out a sermon that I'm going to preach next Sunday at her ordination at the First Parish in Lexington. And she's going to be ordained at 3 o'clock, and we're all invited to that. And this is a dry run. So after this morning's service, you're welcome to come on upstairs to the bacon room at 11:30 and tell me what I should have said, or make any other comments that you may have about what would make a good ordination sermon. Help me to work out the kinks. That's pretty much what I know for the world of announcements. But before kids go on to their classes, I want to say a couple of words. Again, I want to say a couple of words about the body. I grew up in a Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist Church in Chicago, and I remember some things about religious education there. We had to memorize the opening lines to Tom Paine's Common Sense, a good humanist scripture. And we also had a curriculum that was about miracles abounding. And one of the foremost miracles is the human body. And what I particularly remember was there was an entire section about the human hand. And in the human hand, there are 27 bones. Count them, 27 bones in the human hand that make everything work so that you can manipulate and do all the great things that you can do with the human hand. And then I thought about the human body and other things that we can do with ourselves, and I'd like to know how many of you are able to wiggle your ears. We have some ear wiggling. Would you demonstrate, please? Right here on our stage. Yes, indeed. Okay, now let's see. How many of you can wink both eyes? Can you wink both eyes? All right. Let's have. Not at the same. Yeah. Right. Okay. At the same time. Somebody stand up and wink. Stand up and look and wink with one. Right. She's very, very good. All right. Let's see what else. Oh, tongue rolling. You know the famous one about tongue rolling. And can you roll your tongue? Yes. Yeah. Turn around so that everybody can see. Yeah. Oh, that's very nice. Oh, excellent. Okay. Tongue rolling, and I want you to know that this is an intellectual church, and this morning I Googled tongue rolling, and apparently tongue rolling is used as a dominant genetic trait example in a lot of introductory biology textbooks. It's an example of a Mendelian trait, and you know, it's not true. That is a myth. There is no evidence to back that up, that it is a dominant trait or that it's genetic in any way. You see, you learned something here already. Now, let's see. Have you got any other examples of great things you can do with your head or your eyes or your ears? Or yes, what can you do? She could bend, she could flex her finger in an unusual way. Just the top. Oh, very good. Okay. Well, I'm not going to stretch this out any further. You'll be glad to know. Yes, you have one more? Yeah. What else have you got, Leah? Yeah. She can cross her eyes. Stand up and show everybody how good you are at that. Yeah. Nice. This story isn't over yet, folks. What have you got? You can move your ear? That's great. I wish I could move my ear. You know, here I can move my ear, you know, if I use my hands, but not without using my hands. Our bodies are obviously extremely important, and sometimes one of the most religious things is to find ways of using our bodies to support our values and to put our bodies at the service of purposes that are greater than ourselves. Here's another one. We can stand up, you know, turn around. Yeah, all right. Yeah, Spock. Okay, all right. All right. Okay. Yep. There are. Oh yes. My wife is encouraging me to play my head, and I can play the old song "Windy" on my head, but I'm far too dignified to do that, and so we've come to the conclusion of this part of our extravaganza. And right now, kids and teachers are going to go off to their classes, and as they do, we will sing Spirit of Life.
Good morning on this misty, moisty May morning. My name is Bob Batt. I'm a member of the lay pastoral team here at First Parish. I'd like to invite those of you who have a joy or sorrow you'd like to share with the congregation to come forward at this time. I will be at the candle stand after the service for those who would have a private candle they would like to light. I light a final candle for those joys and concerns and sorrows that we keep in our hearts. I'll be here at the candle stand after the service for all those who would like to light a private candle. Thank you.
Those words. Let us spend a few moments in quiet. Let us read together responsively The Young Dead Soldiers by Archibald MacLeish at number 583. The young dead soldiers. The young dead soldiers do not speak. Nevertheless, they are heard in the still houses. Who has not heard them?
They have a silence that speaks for them at night and when the clock counts.
They say, we were young, we have died, remember us. They say, we have done what we could, but until it is finished, it is not done. They say, we have given our lives, but until it is finished, no one can know what our lives gave.
They say, our deaths are not ours, they are yours. They will mean what you make them.
They say, whether our lives and our deaths were for peace and a new hope or for nothing, we cannot say. It is you who must say this. They say, we leave you our deaths, give them their meaning. We were young, they say, we have died, remember us. Freely we have received, freely give, for the good work of this congregation within and far, far beyond these walls. Our morning offering will now gratefully be received. One of my teachers, Rabbi Ed Friedman, once counseled clergy to preach not so much about stuff we know about, but about stuff we're not so sure about. I realize that you are quite accustomed to me not knowing what I'm talking about. Friedman's point is that rather than pontificate about one's favorite topic or hobby horse, clergy are better advised to preach about things we're unsure about, but curious about and want to know more about. You know, I think I'm onto something with my topic today, maybe something important, and so I appreciate your working with me as I try to make more sense of this. I think that we, Unitarian Universalists in particular, desperately, and particularly in these desperate times, need to recast the experience of our religion not in terms of our ideas or our beliefs or our convictions or our passions or even our purposes and principles, but instead we need to find and make ways for us to embody Unitarian Universalism as an embodied faith. Our faith needs to be made incarnate, lived, visceral, embodied. Perhaps this is what Ken Patton had in mind when, in our opening words, he advised us to worship with our eyes and our ears and our fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. So here's how I got onto this obsession with embodiment. Many of you, of course, know that this First Parish in Bedford is a sanctuary church. We have now provided physical sanctuary to 2 undocumented immigrants who fear deportation. Maria, our current guest, has been in our building now for nearly 5 months. Our government's immigration policy to separate and destroy families is unconscionable and morally reprehensible. Now there are 10 congregations, UU, Jewish, Episcopalian, and unaffiliated volunteers as well, many present in this room, who have covenanted with us in support of sanctuary, and there are now 2 volunteers in this building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to provide protection for our guest. So recently, in ours and other congregations, we have initiated spiritual deepening sessions for volunteers and parishioners to reflect on the deeper spiritual and moral meanings of providing sanctuary. There has been a remarkable unanimity in what people report. They say that what has been most meaningful has been the opportunity to place one's body in service to justice, immigrant rights, and human decency. People say what is most meaningful is just to volunteer, to sit in a chair, to provide security at the door, to protect Maria, to simply walk outdoors on our church grounds with her, just to provide human presence. What is most meaningful is the simple opportunity to place one's body in the service of larger values, to place our bodies in the service of our faith. This work embodies our faith. It embodies resistance to tyranny, and it embodies solidarity with other volunteers from near and far, and solidarity with Maria, who, above all others, embodies astonishing faith and courage. One of the noblest of human activities is to place one's body at risk in the service of purposes larger than ourselves. With others of you last Friday, I was present for the dedication of the Carlisle Road Bridge over the Concord River in honor of John Hart and Travis Desiato, two young men from Bedford killed in Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003 and 2004. It was our solemn privilege to organize their memorial services. On Friday, there were a lot of good words spoken at the dedication, words about freedom and sacrifice and service. John and Travis, with their brothers in arms, volunteered to put their bodies at risk. And the poet said, "We leave you our deaths, give them their meaning." Bodies make a difference. And so I've been thinking about other bodies that have made a difference. One of the catalysts for change in the civil rights movement was when, after the murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till in 1955, his mother laid his mutilated body out in an open coffin so that Jet magazine could take photographs of his body to show the world the reality of hate. Those photos of his mutilated body were a turning point in history. When the mother of Noah Posner, one of the victims of the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, laid him to rest in an open coffin with a cloth covering the place where his jawline should have been, she said, "I just want people to know the ugliness of it, so we don't just talk about it abstractly like these little angels just went to heaven." Religion, our kind of religion at least, is not about abstractions. It is about embodiment. I don't mean to be morbid. An ordination is a joyous occasion, but ministry is nothing if it is not about stirring our awareness of our human mortality. I suppose there are religious traditions where the ordinand becomes a spokesperson for God, but in our tradition, ordination confers an acute awareness of this joyous occasion, but when we talk about embodiment, we're also talking about what it means to have a body and what to do with our mortality, this brief interval between birth and death. Christianity, you might have noticed, is an embodied religion. They don't have the purposes and principles all gussied and calligraphied up in front for everyone to read and appreciate or debate. They've got a cross, and the gutsier of them have a cross and a body nailed to it, a crucifix, because embodied religion isn't about what we think or wonder or believe. It's about what we're going to do with our fragile and powerful bodies in this brief interval now. Hey, I can teach you right now one of my favorite poems, and you can even memorize it. It's by Ron Padgett, and it goes like this. That was quick. Life, I mean. That's the poem. Repeat after me. That was quick. Life, I mean. Now put it together. That was quick. Life, I mean. Yes, death is what gets our attention, but that's not all there is to embodiment. The proudest moment in Unitarian Universalist civil rights history was when, in 1965, the UU Board of Trustees, meeting in Boston on Beacon Hill, answered the telegram of Martin Luther King Jr. and promptly adjourned that meeting and reconvened in a church basement in Selma, Alabama. They got off their asses and they moved their bodies to where they might do some good. And not coincidentally, there is a monument at the UUA to Jimmy Lee Jackson and James Reeb and Viola Liuzzo, 3 martyrs of the civil rights struggle, 3 who did die and who embodied our aspirations to justice. Enough about death. Let's talk about sex. Embodiment is about life. What is the most popular program in UU religious education? Probably it is OWL, Our Whole Lives, comprehensive sexuality education. We value and respect, put to good use, and we celebrate our human bodies. OWL embodies our values. OWL is an expression of embodied religion. You've heard me say this before, and perhaps you get tired, but I don't get tired of telling the story about environmentalist and 350.org founder Bill McKibben speaking here a few years ago. To call attention to climate change, he said, means sometimes being disruptive, sometimes being civilly disobedient. And maybe you young people don't want an arrest on your record, he said. But as for the rest of you, what's your excuse? Many of our parishioners have now got an arrest record, and our most recent fund is our Acts of Conscience Fund, otherwise known as a bail fund. You might consider a contribution because we'll be withdrawing from it starting soon. That is embodied religion. Embodiment was at the heart of our transcendentalist heritage. I put Thoreau's words at the top of our order of service. Listen to the verbs. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, to live so sturdily and Spartan-like as to put to rout all that was not life, to cut a broad swath and shave close, to drive life into a corner and reduce it to its lowest terms, and if it proved to be mean, why then to get the whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world, or if it were sublime, to know it by experience and be able to give a true account of it in my next excursion. When Moses led the Jews out of Egypt and were blocked by the Red Sea, it is said in Jewish tradition that the sea did not part on its own, and you can forget about Charlton Heston waving his staff, because that sea did not part until some little scared Jewish nobody had the guts to put one foot in the water, and only then did the sea part. That kind of exodus was an embodied exodus, and if you need a sea to part, it may be your body's toe that is most needed. Now, I'm going to preach to you in its entirety my favorite embodied sermon. You've heard this before, and you've already memorized a poem, and now you can memorize an entire sermon. This was preached by Will Campbell, a rumpled Southern moonshine-drinking Baptist prophet. Somehow in 1987, he was the theologian in residence at the Duke University Chapel on what was to have been his last Sunday there. He was supposed to preach, but there had been a bad ice storm the night before. Even still, the chapel was packed in the morning, and Campbell showed up rumpled, which was his usual way of appearing, no tie, old pants. And when the time came for his sermon, he got up, and this was his entire sermon. Had an ice storm last night. Lots of trees are down. Lots of poor people in this town. Electricity is off. They got no heat. I got my pickup outside, my chainsaw, and my wood axe. I'm going to cut some firewood from those trees to help those poor people. Who's going with me? And Campbell then got down out of the pulpit, and he conked his way down the center aisle, and the big doors clanked shut behind him, and the people were left, it was said, to face themselves before God. That's embodied religion. And I've only got one more story for you, and it's about time because it gave this sermon its title, Biting Down Hard into the Woodwork. Thomas Edison, the great inventor, was also deaf, and yet he invented the phonograph. Phonograph? These were mechanical devices that reproduced and played back sounds by use of wax cylinders or vinyl discs. The discs were called records. Edison could not hear any of this, and so he had to lean over the phonograph and bite hard into the woodwork that was at the edge of the thing. That way, he was able to feel the vibrations through his jaws. I bite my teeth in the wood good and hard, and then I get it good and strong. This was the only way he could feel his own invention and enjoy its music. I submit to you that we live in an era when many are deaf to the world's suffering and as well to its beauty. If in this brief interval we are to know agonies and ecstasies, and again, isn't that why we are here? We too need to bite down hard into the woodwork and feel it in our bones. That is the essence of sanctuary, of resistance, of Me Too, of civil disobedience, of our whole lives. And I'm really not preaching politics to you folks. I'm just saying that in whatever it is we do, what matters is not our ideas or our nouns, but our actions and our verbs. Faithing matters more than faith. Loving matters more than love. Let the beauty we love, says the poet Rumi, be what we do. Let the beauty we love be what we do. We need our skin in this game. And like Edison, our teeth. This is embodied religion. For it is written in Job chapter 19, verse 20, my bone cleaveth to my skin and to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. May it be so. Come, thou fount of every blessing. Our last hymn is number 126. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. Do something with your body. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Amen.